Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the update stream. This is Bugs here. I'm joined today by Artemis and Miss D. Say hi, guys.
Hey everyone.
Hi, guys.
So, what do we got going on today? Well, it is first Thursday of the month. In fact, it's first day of the month, which happens to coincide with the first Thursday of the month. So, you know what that means. We have an update and a forced map wipe inbound. That should all happen within the next hour. And what we're going to do, as always, is go through what is going on in this update, what you as a player can expect. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to do at Miss D underscore, that's me, in chat. We will get to as many questions as we have the opportunity to. Also, real quick, just a reminder, because this is a forced wipe, all servers will map wipe when the update hits. Now, there's no sign of a forced blueprint wipe. And so nevertheless, many servers do choose to wipe blueprints with the forced map wipe at the beginning of the month. That is the case for pretty much every Rustafied server, with the exception of our medium threes and long threes in EU and US. So if you want no blueprint wipes, then check out medium 3 or long 3 in either EU or US. But otherwise, all Rustafied servers will be wiping the blueprints when the map wipe hits as well. And generally speaking, as this goes down, the server update will hit first, and then about 10-15 minutes later, we'll see the map wipe hit and the devlog go live, and that's when we say the update is live. So let's get into it. What is going on with this update? Well, you can follow along, as always, on rustafied.com. We've got everything written down in text and pictures, but I will go through it as well for you. So first and foremost, we have backpacks are making their way in after kind of a while in concept limbo and in the conceptual stages. The first iteration of backpacks is going live with the update today, and that is kind of the pinnacle of this update. And I referred to it as the backpack update because, well, the backpacks are kind of the biggest deal going on with this update as far as new content is concerned. So a couple things about the backpacks. There's two types of backpacks, a small and a large. And they do exactly what you would expect a backpack to do. They allow you as a player to carry more items than you ever could before. Now, equipping a backpack is really easy. You've got the slot that you've been putting parachutes into for months. And so you're familiar with that backpack slot. And that's exactly where you drag a backpack when you want to use it. Then it shows up on your back, and if you click into it, you can actually drag items into the backpack. Now, the backpack doesn't actually give you any obvious nerfs, so if you fill it up, it doesn't slow down your movement speed or anything. If anything, it might make you a little more visible to other players. We'll have to test the hitboxes again this week. As of last week, it wasn't even really impacting negatively the hitboxes, but it does allow you to carry a bunch more items. So first and foremost, the small backpack, this is going to be the easier one to get. It is a small makeshift backpack, and it allows you to carry 12 additional items. And it's definitely going to be easier to obtain than its bigger brother, the large backpack, because this backpack you can craft, and it is in fact a default blueprint. So as soon as you come across 5 sewing kits and 50 cloth, then you can craft one of these bad boys and equip it. Now, with all backpacks, you can only wear one backpack at a time with items in it. You can carry multiple empty backpacks with you, but the second you put an item in that backpack, then you can only carry one backpack with an item in it at a time. So no like infinitely stacking backpacks or any trickery like that. Now onto the large backpack. Now this is a larger military backpack, and it's, of course, going to allow you to carry more items. So instead of 12 items, it allows you actually to carry 28 more slots. And that's pretty significant. Now, the downside of it is that you can't actually craft this. You have to find it. Based on our tests, we were finding it in green loot crates. And it wasn't super rare in the green loot crates. Like, I was spawning a bunch of them in. And let's say if I spawned a row of 10 or 15 in, then I was seeing a large backpack in at least one of them, but probably 2 of them. So It's not like a super, super, super rare item to loot based on what we're seeing, but it is harder to get because you can't craft it. We're also not seeing any places where you can, say, purchase it from an NPC or a vendor yet. As with all this stuff, first iteration, subject to change. So take everything with a grain of salt. But yeah, the large backpack you're only going to find in loot. But if you do, you'll want to hold on to it because, man, carrying an extra 28 items is pretty significant. Now, as I said, you can only have one backpack with items in it at once. If you die with a backpack, your backpack drops on the ground and actually essentially is like an extra loot crate on the ground for anyone coming up to it. So if a player with a backpack dies with items in the backpack, then the player ragdoll will be on the ground and lootable, and the backpack will fall on the ground and be lootable. So you can loot it just like a normal loot crate or anything like that. Just tap E to get into the loot. If you want to pick up a backpack and you don't have provided a backpack already on you with items in it, then you just hold E, and in like 2, 3 seconds, the backpack picks up and gets on your inventory. Also, if an empty backpack is dropped on the ground, they will despawn in either 20 or 40 minutes. So the small empty backpack on the ground will despawn in 20 minutes. The large will take 40 by default. Now, if there's items in it, that time is increased, and it's variable based on the quality of items in the backpack. But basically, it looks like that variable rate will go up to 2 hours by default. So if you drop a backpack with items in it, and those items are of any value, then that backpack will hang around for about 2 hours on the server before it despawns. And once again, they don't slow down your speed or anything. So these are pretty much a win all the way around as a player for carrying more items and being able to take more around the map with you. So that is the backpacks. Once again, this is subject to change. You know, if you're carrying different weapons and things like that on the backpack, you'll see they mount to the side of the backpack and the back of the backpack. And they've done a bunch of variable things to make sure that the models don't like overlap and things like that. But that's basically it. You're going to be using these to do extended loot gathering runs, or bring in a large backpack to a big raid when you're raiding that Zerg, or if you need to transfer loot to base, then this is all going to be a very valuable tool for you in the arsenal. Now, also coming in this week, we have metal detection. Now, this one came a little bit out of left field last week. You know, it just kind of showed up. No one was really expecting it. It was funny because a lot of people had a lot of negative things to say about metal detectors, like, what the hell is this doing in the game and everything like that. Everyone's so critical off the bat because it's like, fix your fucking game, all this stuff. Why are you adding a metal detector? And it's like, well, this metal detector is actually it was actually modeled like 3 years ago, and it's just kind of apparently been in concept limbo for about 3 years. And I think the devs saw an opening to add it in this month, and so they did. So what this basically looks like is metal detection is comprised of two main new items in the game. First, of course, the metal detector, and then next is the shovel. And I'll go through kind of how this works. Now, I do want to stress with this functionality in particular, very much subject to change. In fact, even the shovel crafting and things like that don't seem to be finalized yet on the staging branch as it is right now. So I do think this is going to be an update and a forced wipe where we see some, I'm not going to say significant, but we see some hot fixes and stuff like that the following days that might balance some things out and tweak some things. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see a good amount of that in the metal detection realm. But I will go through where it is at right now. So first and foremost, you get a metal detector. Now, this is a default blueprint. It takes 2 rope and 200 wood to craft. And, ooh, 1 second. I'm just seeing, oh, and I got news right here about the update. The client will be released alongside the server update today due to a larger than normal download size. So just a heads up, if you're on a slower internet connection, then you'll want to get that client download going immediately, because it's probably going to be a couple gigs today based on that. In fact, I can't think of a time when the devs have released the client and the server at the same exact time in the recent history. So maybe it's a much bigger download. I'm not sure. We'll see. But I do recall someone in our Discord asking about how large do you think the download size is going to be because my mate has bad internet. Sorry, bud. He might have to wait a little while because it looks like it's going to be a large download. But anyway, back to the metal detector. So that is at the heart of metal detection, of course. It's a default blueprint, as I said, 2 rope, 200 wood to craft. So it's pretty easy to craft. It's a cool looking, very rusty aesthetic. And it's pretty simple how it works. Basically, there's a light bulb at the very end of it, and there's two LED bars on the part that you look down on. And what you want to do to start detecting things under the ground is just walk around and keep an eye on that green LED bar and the blinking of the bulb at the end of it. And once you get that green LED bar up to full, basically, then you want to start strafing the metal detector back and forth. And you do this just by holding the right mouse button. And then what you'll see is this secondary LED bar start filling up, the orange LED bar. And as you kind of go around, and depending on where the sun's at in the sky, actually, it can be kind of hard to see these bars illuminating sometimes. So keep that in mind. But you want to just strafe around and keep going towards where that orange LED bar is raising and raising and raising. And if it starts going down, we'll turn and find a alternate direction. And eventually, when you come around to it, then you'll see this kind of flag and stick blue building placement kind of thing. And it'll just like appear out of nowhere, and sometimes you don't even see it. Sometimes the flag just shows up immediately because the metal detector is kind of blocking the blue thing. The blue building guide is not that big. In fact, the flag and the stick were actually just, I believe, this morning made a little bit bigger by Helk in a commit. But still, they're not the easiest thing in the world to see. But once you got that flag or the flag hanging from the stick, then you want to bust out your shovel or your torch because the torch also works here. Now, the shovel doesn't dig like a shovel would. You just whack at it like you do pretty much any other tool in the game. And with the shovel, it takes 3 whacks at this thing, and then the loot will just come up and you can see what you got. Now, the loot varies around the map, and this has been a point of contention a little bit. If you tuned in last week, you'll have seen that on stream, actually, we pulled up an AK out of nowhere, and that was surprising, but that was not intentional. The devs did confirm that was not as intended. You're not going to find any AKs under the ground in this iteration at the very least. That said, there are some decent things to find. Based on what we were seeing, there is the lower tier stuff like cans of beans and cans of tuna. You can get 1 or 2 of those. You can get a water jug for some reason, even though I'm not sure what the hell is metal with a water jug, but you can find a water jug sometimes. You can find a couple scrap anywhere up to, it seems like 10 scrap. You can find high quality metal anywhere up to 5 high qual. You can find metal frags anywhere from, it looks like 20 to 25 metal frags, generally speaking. And there's also various tools, ammo, armor, and components you can find. And then, as far as a gun is concerned, the only gun we've seen pulled up is a revolver. And it looks like you can pull up a number of revolvers if you're searching around. Now, one thing about this loot is it is variable based on where you are in or on the map. So the loot gets better as you go to higher tier locations based on what we're seeing. So if you're on a starter beach, then you're probably just going to find a bunch of cans of beans and tuna, and it's not worth it to do too much metal detection. As you go further into the map, if you get, say, near a road, then you're likely to find more road signs and stuff like that. And if you get near monuments and stuff like that, then it seems like the quality of loot goes up. Now, keep in mind, this is just based on our observations. We're not the developers of the game, and we didn't program this. So there might be some more information coming out with the dev blog. But based on our, investigation and everything like that, this is what we're seeing. The loot changes depending on where you are on the map. The other thing is we're not seeing loot in the cold. So if it's snow, we're not seeing any loot. Although there was a commit earlier today from Helk that did apparently add some loot into the tundra. we wiped the server and updated, and we're still not finding any loot in the snow, but it's possible we just didn't get the latest release version when we updated the server like an hour ago. So apparently there might be some loot in the snow, but we weren't finding any. But then, depending on where you are, if you're near a road or a monument, you're going to get, it seems like, better loot. And you can get some decent things. I have a example of what my inventory looked like after picking up, say, like 30 of these things. And I had like 18 high quality metal, 55 scrap, 244 metal frags. I got 3 picks and a hatchet. I got some bullets, and I got some cans of tuna and shit. So you can get some good metal. You can get some tools. You can get some armor and stuff, some components. So yeah, we'll have to see, and it'll depend on your playstyle and stuff like that if it is worth it to metal detect. But once again, they're pretty easy to get. The metal detector is a default blueprint. It's 2 rope, 200 wood to craft at the moment. I think 30 seconds to craft, no workbench required. So it's not a lot of not a big, barrier to entry, so to speak, for getting into metal detection. Now, the shovel I want to talk about real quick because the shovel is the secondary piece of the metal detector where once you find the flag and the stick and that's showed up, then you got to bust out the shovel and whack at it. The thing with this shovel is it's not showing up on the crafting menu. You can't research it. So maybe you're just going to find it in loot. I actually tried spawning a bunch of loot. I didn't find it in any loot. Last week, it was available to craft, and it was a default blueprint at 50 wood and 75 frags to craft, but that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. So I'm not really sure where you're going to get the shovel as it stands now, but also you don't need the shovel. Literally, the only thing the shovel was used for was whacking these like flags and sticks to expose the loot that you found with the metal detector, and you can do that with a torch. Now, it's a little bit slower with the torch. The torch has a slower hit rate, so it's going to take a little longer to get those 3 hits down. But I mean, you start with a torch, it's much cheaper. So it seems like a lot of people might just use the torch for the time being. We were trying with various other tools, and I didn't see any other tools that worked for bringing this up last I checked. That could change. And Artemis, if you get a chance, let's try again, like maybe whack him with a hatchet or something, just to make sure. But the um, the torch was working just fine. So if you can't get a shovel and you want to do metal detection, then just hold on to your torch and whack it with your torch, and you can see. So yeah, that's basically it when it comes to the metal detector and the shovels. Moving on, we got some pretty significant changes to the overlay effects. And now this is the player overlays when you get hot or cold or low HP or things like that. This is not, oh, they did change it so the hatchet works
Yeah.
and everything like that.
So yeah,
Okay,
sorry to
cool.
interrupt, but yeah, it looks like you can use any melee for a minute.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to change that on the site. That was not the case the other day when we were testing, but I guess they updated it. And that makes sense because it's like, if you're just whacking a shovel at it, you should be able to whack a hatchet at it and get the same result. So yeah, it looks like you can actually expose this metal detector loot with pretty much any, tool. So you don't really need the shovel, and that's good because I don't know how the hell you're even gonna get the shovel as it stands. Anyway, onto the overlay effect tweaks. Basically, those first-person overlays have been modified, and what we're seeing in general is that the effects have been toned down across the board. So there's less distortion, less vignetting, less desaturation, and overall, just the effects that you are seeing for these player environmental things are just much more toned down. There's a good amount of examples on Rustafied.com, so you can see like the left is the new one and the right is the old one, and you can just see how they're kind of tuned down a bit, and you can just see things a little better, which is nice. That's some good quality of life. Now, also, what we're seeing is some performance improvements coming with this update. Now, this is something that we're not sure exactly the specifics of performance improvements, but the devs did say that they have improved client and server performance with this update. So I think there probably will be some more details on the dev blog, but all you really need to know is that performance is apparently increased for both players and servers, and that's great news to me. Now, speaking of improvements, there's also apparently some anti cheat improvements coming in. Now, this one kind of similar to the performance stuff, but for a different reason. We're not going into details about. The anti cheat stuff is, of course, a game of cat and mouse. And so the devs never really share any information when it comes to anti cheat improvements because if they did share information, it would just allow the cheaters to have more information to counter those improvements. But what you need to know is that there are some improvements to anti cheat, to EAC, and things like that coming with this update. And I think also there was a pretty good size EAC ban wave happened earlier this week as well. So that's always good. And also know at Rustafied specifically, we are working with third-party anti-cheat solutions and we've been coding our own anti-cheat solutions so that we can do our best on Rustafied servers to combat the hacker issue the best we can. And so we've been making improvements as well on our end. And each week we modify, tweak, and kind of tune up things to be able to catch hackers in our servers before they ruin someone else's wipe. And that's our goal. That's our game plan with that. And so hopefully the hacker situation is better after the forced wipe. That would definitely be a welcome change. Now, there's also a bunch of quality of life coming in with the update today. Death markers have been added to the compass. So once you die and respawn, you can see exactly where you died on the compass, which is nice. Also, plants stay ripe for 14 hours instead of 4 hours. So you get an extra 10 hours of space to get your ripe plants off the vine and enjoy them. Also, they resolve some repair cost issues where things were higher than intended, like repairing a ladder hatch was like asking for a ladder and stuff like that, and that's been modified. And also repairing turrets, auto turrets, has been significantly reduced in price, which makes sense and is nice quality of life. They've also added the ability to rotate doors before placement. Also, launch site SAM sites no longer shoot down MLRS rockets. Man, that's a sentence to get through. Launch site SAM sites no longer shoot down MLRS rockets. You heard it here, not first, but you heard it here. Also, they are letting blackjack dealers hit a soft 17. I'm not huge on blackjack, but I'm guessing that's quality of life. Also, shelters, those little wood legacy shit shacks, that they added back in, what was it, December? Those are now limited to one shelter per person. Actually, Artemis, can we check and make sure that's still one per person as of today? Because I'm
Yeah,
realizing
sure.
that's what we saw last week, but I want to make sure they didn't change it. But yeah, basically, it looks like no more shelters everywhere. No more of those wooden shit shacks just going down all over the place willy nilly, as they are being limited to one person per server per shit shack type of thing. I think. Let's see. Let's confirm with
Yeah,
Artemis
they
first.
get it. No, you're now at 101.
Cool. Yeah. So shelter limits. That's another quality of life thing. Also, apparently, we've got two changes or a couple changes to gunplay. So there's going to be faster reload and aim animations for the semi and P2. Everything's just going to be a bit more responsive. And also, there's a slight drop in the recoil movement on the P2. So those two weapons got a little bit of a buff with the update today. Now, there's also some other stuff going on. They did change the default nudity to pixelated. So if you buy the game and load up fresh, then the genitals and stuff are going to be pixelated by default. You can, of course, change that in your settings, but that's just a new default setting, I guess, to be a little more PC. There's also some new Chinese New Year items coming in, including the Dragon Launcher, the Spear, and a White Lantern, which we just saw show up today. I'm not sure if the lantern's finalized, but we can show off those items a little bit. Now, those are not expected to go live with the update today, as they are for the Chinese New Year event. And based on Google, it looks like Chinese New Year is going to be February 10th to maybe like the 15th. So I imagine next week into probably next week with the item store changes going live, we'll see these things. But man, that spear is pretty cool, and the dragon launcher is pretty cool too. And it looks like these are just skins, like the spear is just a skin of the wooden spear, and the dragon launcher is just a skin of the launcher, of course. But those are items probably coming in next week, available for purchase on the item store for a limited time to help celebrate Chinese New Year. Also, there's some improvements coming in under the hood for the industrial system. And this is not something that you're really going to, as a player, necessarily notice any differences, but hopefully, as a server owner, we do notice differences because although a lot of chronic server crashing issues were resolved last year, like the physics issue and some of the AI getting stuck in terrain issues, those were causing server crashes a lot last year. Those got resolved, but the industrial system now has been causing some issues where the workers to track industrial stuff can get bombed out on servers sometimes, and it can cause the server to crash. So hopefully, with these changes and improvements to the industrial system going live today, that is either completely resolved or significantly less than it was before. Because yeah, that's kind of a pain in the butt when the servers crash. Also, a couple little things. They fixed the spray can not reassigning the owner ID of entities because when people are reskinning entities with a spray can, it was changing the owner ID, which was unintentional. And also, they fixed uh, something with demos. And now, if you're a normal player, this is probably not anything for you. But if you're a content creator, this could be huge for you. And that is when you're scrubbing through a demo, if the player had not a default skin. Previously, often if you would scrub through a demo, the skins, the player skins, would be reverted back to default skins, which can really screw up your content. And that has been resolved. They did a fix for player clothing skins getting removed in demos when scrubbing. So that's a nice little quality of life fix for content creators. And yeah, that about does it as far as what is going on in this update. Once again, we do expect the update to come out in the next about half an hour. It does look like the client update is going to come out a little bit earlier than normal today. Normally, they release the server update, wait 10, 15 minutes, and then the client update comes out. But given the size of the client update today, apparently it's a large one, they're going to release the client and the server at the same time. So I expect that to happen in the next 10, 15 minutes. And yeah, and then we'll say the update is live. So it might be kind of an early update today, but we'll see. In the meantime, Miss D, we got any questions from the audience? And once again, if you have any questions, please do point them at Miss D underscore, that's me in chat, because we got a lot of people in chat and it can be hard for her to track all the questions coming in. But yeah, we
Yeah,
got any questions?
yeah, we do have a lot actually. Is it true that MLRS does not get shot by the SAM anymore?
Yeah, yeah. Around launch site, those SAM sites are not shooting down MLRS rockets anymore.
Is there any news on the clan table coming in?
No, the clan table is kind of all worked up within that Nexus body of work, which is that server to server transfer in game. And that's where, there's like kind of nodes of servers and players can go from server to server. And that clan system was kind of all baked in with that functionality. I think the idea being that if people in one clan are going from server to server, they're going to need some form of communication and things like that. And a lot of that was done through this clan table thing. Now, all that work is still planned, but as you might recall from the dev blog in January, they've got kind of an uphill battle to get there. So it's going to be maybe later this year we see that stuff coming in. And I don't think it's going to be first part of this year, just because there's a lot to do in that functionality and on just the overall roadmap of development. I think they've got other fish to fry, so to speak, before they get that stuff out. So I do think we will see the clan table and that Nexus stuff go live maybe later this year, but I wouldn't hold your breath to anytime soon.
I have a question. When is wipe? I'm new to Rust.
Sure. Well, first of all, welcome and good to have you. And with the wipes, it varies depending on what Thursday of the month we are at. Now, this Thursday is the first Thursday. So, what that means is that's forced wipe. So, every first Thursday of every month is when they release the big update, all the stuff they've been working on for the last month. And with that update going live, they do force a map wipe on all servers. So all servers need to do a fresh map and wipe with that. Now, for other Thursdays throughout the month, it varies from server to server and community to community. For Rustafied, you can see all that information on our Discord, and we have server information. We've got map voting 52 hours before the map's wipe, so you can have a say in what maps you play on what servers, and all that stuff. But for today, it is a forced map wipe, and the update is expected in about 15-20 minutes. It generally hits at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT. Given the size of the client update today, it looks like they're releasing the client along with the server, and that generally happens about 15-20 minutes before the turn of the hour, before 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT. So literally 10-15 minutes from now. So we'll keep you posted, and we're keeping an eye on those updates going live, and we'll definitely let you know as soon as they are so you can restart your Steam and get that update going.
I just saw someone ask if we can turn nighttime on so they can see the lantern at night.
Yeah, let's go do that.
Nice. Let me see here. How does hover looting work when your inventory is full but you have room in your backpack?
Well, you got to click into your backpack and show the backpack inventory first on your UI, and then the hover looting works just as you would expect.
What does the interaction with a dead player who are wearing a backpack look like?
So that's basically you're going to have to loot two different things. So if there's a player who's wearing a backpack with items on it and they die, basically the player body falls on the ground like you'd expect, and then the backpack actually separately falls on the ground. So when you go up to them, you'll have to loot the player, and then you'll have to loot the backpack. Now, if you're not wearing a backpack, you can just hold E to pick up the backpack with all the things on it. And that pickup process takes like 3 seconds roughly. And yeah, but it's two separate things when a player dies with a backpack.
Do the backpacks float on the water?
That is a good question. We should go check on that because I actually haven't tested that yet. But very good question.
Can you put a full backpack in the storage box?
No, backpacks won't go into storage with any items in them, right? Isn't that is correct, right?
That's correct. Yep, yep.
Does crafting consumes items from the backpack or only the inventory?
Oh, that's a good question too. So we are seeing backpacks are floating. That's
Yep,
once again good question. And then let's see with crafting. I think the items will pull out of the backpack normally, but I do want to get confirmation on that. But that's cool. The backpacks float. That's very good.
Can you also stash a backpack?
you can. Yep, you can stash a backpack.
Yeah. Oh, and the metal detectors are not finding underground stashes. Although I do want to see if we can test that again real quick just to confirm they didn't change it in the past like day and I'm saying something wrong here.
Yeah, sure.
Is it easy to tell the difference between a body bag and a large backpack on the ground so you can tell which one you want to pick up?
Yeah, the large backpack last I checked was like kind of standing upright. It was kind of sitting upright, so it's sitting on the ground a little different.
If you shoot the backpack, does it count as a hit?
At last we tested, we were not having the backpack, seeing the backpack as an extra hitbox. I do want to test that again real quick though, if we get a chance.
Yeah,
So
no
let's
worries.
see if we can test the stash.
You want to do that
And
first? All right, yep. Hang on.
Let me see here.
do you want
Can
me to
it?
hop in, Artemis, and put a stash down?
No, you're fine. It was backpacks in a stash, right?
Yes. And see if you can detect it with a metal detector.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same as last time. You can't put a backpack in a stash with items in it, just an empty one.
Interesting. Can a drop backpack with loot in it be looted in a safe zone?
We can test that for sure. There was sorry as well. There was another question after the stash for testing.
Yeah, here, come next to me. I'm gonna put a stash down, and see if the metal detector detects it. If you could. I just want to confirm that that's not the case.
Sure.
And I'll put some stuff in it just to make sure. But yeah. And for anyone just tuning in, the update is still expected at normal time. We expect it to go live probably in the next 10, 15 minutes. One little change for this update is that the devs did say, given the size of the client update, there is they are going to be releasing the server and client update at the same time. Normally they release the server first and then the client about 10, 15 minutes later. It looks like both are going to be going live at the same time. If that happens when we normally see the server update go live, that looks like about 10 minutes from now. So we'll keep you posted. But it's not the stash, yeah. So the metal detector is still not finding stashes. It just finds loot that is this new special type of loot that is like, I guess, the underground loot or metal detector loot. And that's been spread all over the map. We're not seeing it so much in the snow biome, but apparently that will change. But yeah, and the loot is variable based on where you are on the map. So if you're near a road, you're going to find more road signs, it looks like. If you're on a beach, it looks like you're going to find more cans and more crap. But yeah, but it's not detecting stashes, just the new special type of loot for metal detectors.
Let me see. Next question. Did you test the crafting part?
Oh yeah,
If
that was where it was. All right,
yeah,
yeah,
does
we can do it
crafting
now.
consume items from the backpack or only your inventory?
Yes, and if we can loot backpacks and safe zones if they're dropped too.
Yes.
Yeah, basically, Artemis, just test all the things right now.
Yeah, sure. At the same time, right?
At the same
Yes.
time, yeah. I mean, what are we here for?
Multitasking.
I'm gonna say no because it's not appearing here, but let's just double check.
Can you drop a full backpack for a body to pick up fast?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. And no, so it looks like it's not counting anything in the backpack to use as resources for crafting.
Yeah, so you're going to have to pull those resources into your main inventory for crafting.
Can you use the metal detector underwater?
No, we weren't having any luck with that.
And we wanted to test dropping a full backpack, right, in a safe zone?
In a safe zone,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, was it for someone else to pick up? Or just...
Yeah.
So is someone
Yeah,
would have to
because
come
if
over
you
to
dropped it, I assume
Yeah,
that
I'll
you
come
can.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I was able to pick up that backpack.
Awesome.
Is there a new rock formation this update?
Not that I've seen. I mean, maybe something snuck in there on the proc gen, but I didn't see any big changes with proc gen. And once again, we're not developers of the game. We're just fans of the game like you who love reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. So I do want to take a moment to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you to everyone who gives bits and subscribes on Twitch, and to our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers. Thank you so much, because literally we wouldn't be able to do this without the support of you. But also, yeah, given we're not developers, some of the stuff we might not know every single little detail, but do feel free to ask, and we're happy to test everything that we can. Once again, if you have any questions, feel free to do Miss D _ that's me in chat. And yeah, we'll get to the questions we have while we have some time left. We do expect this update to hit in the next 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes if it's at normal time. Ooh, and look at that. Right as I'm saying it, server update just dropped. Bam. And client update just dropped as well. They dropped at the same time. Let me tweet about it. But go restart your Steam now if you're not seeing a client update pending. But yeah, get those clients updating because apparently it's a big one. So it might be a couple gig download today. But let me tweet about it real quick.
Let me know when you're ready for a new question.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Is there any news to mirrors?
Nah, nothing with mirrors yet. The long and short with those is they just were not performing enough and they were having some issues when it came to performance. So I think at some point maybe they'll come in, but it doesn't look like anytime soon.
Is console getting any of these updates, specifically PlayStation?
No. Well, maybe eventually, but console development, it's literally a completely different game. I mean, it's called Rust and it looks the same in a lot of ways, but the functionality is essentially like PC Rust 2 years ago, 3 years ago, give or take. So yeah, some of the stuff may eventually come into console Rust, but it's not looking like it's going to be anytime necessarily soon because the two are on completely different development tracks and they're completely different teams and companies working on them.
Where can large backpacks be found? Only in elite crates or better crates?
We're seeing them in the green crates around.
Yeah, military crates.
And what happened to dirt bikes this month?
No dirt bikes yet, but man, those would be cool once they come in. They are working on a new truck apparently too. I'm thinking it might be like the scrap heli, but for the ground. Um, it's a military grade truck, but nothing on that this month. We'll have to keep you posted.
Will there be flames when you shoot the rocket launcher because of the dragon?
Oh, that would be cool too, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And we'll have more on those Chinese New Year items next week because I think they're going to go live in the item store next week. And so still subject to change and all that good stuff. If you are just tuning in, or I forgot to um, do the overlay thing, the client update is live. So the update is technically live. This is a little different today because the server update and the client update went live together. This is because the client update was so large, it looks like it was almost 8 gigs. So given the size of that update, they released it at the same time. So the update is out a bit early today. We're still going to be getting the servers down, updating them, and getting them up as soon as possible, freshly wiped and all that stuff. So our systems team is working on that now. If you do run a server, I would recommend you go do that as well. And yeah, technically the update is live. So I'm going to wind this puppy down in a minute or two anyway, just to make sure our servers are coming up good and all that stuff. But do we want to handle another question or two before the update's live?
Yeah, we have a few more we can take before we end. Is there an easy way to remove/pick up legacy shelters now that there is a limit, or will we have to torch our own to make room for more?
Yeah, I don't think anything changed with that. So I think you're just going to have to destroy them the good old fashioned way.
Can you please mention that it would be very nice to have a clock while playing? I mean, on the map clock for
Yeah,
night and stuff. That would be great to have.
I can see that. I can see that
Yeah.
too. That could be cool.
Yeah, and I think that's it. And we also have a raid after this, so
We do have a raid, which I'm not going to forget about in 30 seconds when I go to do it. So let me, let me just make sure I got that copy and pasted. But yeah, I think we are going to wind down. It is a kind of early update today, which is cool. Then, and once again, that is because the client update came out with the server update. The dev blog is still pending, but I imagine it'll be up soon. And if you haven't started already, do restart Steam if you're not seeing the update pending and get that update downloading. It is a big one today. So you'll want to get on that so you can get into the servers before they all queue up. But a huge thank you once again for everyone tuning in. Just a reminder, we are not the devs. We're not on the Facepunch team or payroll or anything like that. We're just an independent organization who loves reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. And we can only do that through your support. So thank you all so much for tuning in. People who give bits, subscribe on Twitch, and our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers. Thank you all for from the bottom of my heart for that support. And we'll keep on doing what we're doing week after week, month after month. And we will be back as always, same time, same place next week to give you an update preview stream, 1 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. And as always, every Thursday, first thing Eastern time at midnight, our article on Rustafied.com goes live, which summarizes everything in text and pictures that is going on in development news. And do check out Rustafied.com if you want to reference anything going on with this update today. Once again, the dev blog should be live any moment. Let's just refresh here and see. Nope, not seeing the dev blog yet, but the server update is technically live because the server and client updates did come out. So we're going to wind this puppy down. I'm going to make sure all the Rustified servers come up good. A huge thank you to everyone for tuning in. A huge thank you to Artemis and Miss D, as always, for being my co-MCs.
You're welcome, and
Yeah,
remember the
totally.
raid. Yeah,
Yeah, and
almost
I'll
said
remember the
shadow.
raid. Yeah, yeah, I didn't say shadow,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to forget the raid either. We are going to raid Becca
Oh,
Supthan here.
I just wanted to let Artemis say bye too.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
bless you. Yeah. Bye, guys. Have a good bye.
Bye, Artemis. And yeah, we are gonna raid Becca Supthan here. Let's get her partnered on Twitch here
Oh, yeah.
with this raid. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful wipe. This is Bugs signing off.